All right, folks. Number 3, this is the one we didn't have to talk about as much in class, really in all classes. And so we have a couple of things that we can talk about here. And to be honest, I told a couple classes, and so those of you who maybe didn't hear it, hopefully you get to hear it. Don't worry about this one. I'm still going to do it in this video, I think, but you don't have to worry too much about that one, okay? So from the last couple days here, these are the exponent rules, all right? And we have really 5 rules to deal with, and that's how you're just going to have those rules. I'll give them to you, and you need to respond, okay? So one of the rules, and I'm going to write them right in the middle here where there's some room. So we have 3 rules in a acronym. All right, that was mad scene. All right, these are kind of the main rules. The other ones are kind of the weirder rules. We got when you multiply exponents, you add the exponent. So, for example, here you got v squared and v to the third being multiplied. You would add those numbers. We'll get to that in a second. All right. Divide, you subtract. All right. So if you're looking at not really any good examples here. There will be. We have to simplify a little bit first. But cool. And then exponent to an exponent means you multiply. Okay? So first of all, if you want to, you can think of that as parentheses. This whole last part is parentheses. You see parentheses, for example, here. Exponent to an exponent. It's the only time you're going to have parentheses in these types of problems. Same thing here. You see parentheses, boom, exponent to an exponent. You're going to multiply those exponents. So v squared to the third, 3 times 2 is 6, v to the 6th. Again, we'll get to that, all right? But parentheses, that's the same thing as exponent to an exponent. I don't think mads PM, parentheses multiply exponents. I don't think that was as catchy as mad C. Not that that's not catchy, but you know what I mean. The other rule then is negative exponents. We're going to deal with by they need to cross a fraction. They need to cross a fraction line to become positive. All right. So that just means if you see a negative exponent, for example, x to the negative 1 here, this needs to move down to the bottom across the fraction line where it will become positive. You'll have an x to the positive 1 on the bottom now, all right? All right. Finally, 0 exponents, anything to the 0 power is 1. All right, let me write that right here. 0 exponents equal the number 1. So that x to the 0 just becomes the number 1. We'll talk about it. All right? Here we go. Let's look at an example of each type of rule in action. Like I said, you have these rules. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Now the order, you should do a parentheses first, then deal with the negative and 0, and then do your normal multiplication and division. All right? Here we go. Let's take a look. You just kind of got to respond. All right? So this is just one long string of multiplication. So you can eliminate the division rule. There's no parentheses, no negative exponents, no 0 exponents. So when you look at your rules, you can eliminate everything here, except for the multiply. You're going to add exponents. Now that only applies to exponents, okay? So I do this. You don't have to. I'm going to separate everything, and here's why. Common mistake is to think that this 2 and this n get the 2 exponent. There's no parentheses here. So only the m gets the 2. The base of m gets the exponent of 2. All right? After that, numbers multiply like numbers. 4 times 2 is 8. Count up your n's. 1, 2. Technically, you're adding exponents. Put a little 1 there. 1 plus 1 is 2. and there's m to the second. That's it. All right, be responsive, follow your rules, kind of maybe assess the situation. Everything is multiplication, so when it comes to exponents, add. All right, let's go to the next one. Okay, so a couple things. No parentheses, no negative exponents, no zero exponents. We'll probably have to use a little multiplication rule where you add the exponents on the bottom. We'll have to do that. And we're going to have to divide in the end because of the fraction sign. So first two rules there, just these two. Here we go. All right. So before we can divide, we have to simplify top and bottom. Top is done. Okay. This 2 is by itself. Same with this 2. That exponent does not go with the 2. I put a little 1 there to remind you. If you need to separate it like this, so you know these are all separate, that's fine. Okay. 2 times 2 is 4. V squared times v to the third. How many v's are we multiplying? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When you multiply, add the exponents. V to the fifth. Okay? So we use our multiplication rule. Both top and bottom are simplified. I know that because, sorry, just trying to get a little bit of the clutter out of there. I know that because there's a number and a v, just a v. Before we had 2 v's on the bottom and 2 numbers. We brought it together. That is simplified. All right? Now we divide, which is, you can either think of it as subtraction or canceling. Okay? There's 1 v on top, 5 on the bottom. That means 1 cancels on both top and bottom. Okay? If you want to use subtraction, you just got to be careful. Just think 5 minus 1 is 4, and there's more on the bottom. So this v would cancel. You have to put something there. You can't put 0 because 0 divided by anything is just 0. We obviously don't have 0. The answer is not 0. So put a 1, and then one of our v's canceled on the bottom. Okay. If you need to, you can write it out as here. Let me grab some scrap paper here. If you want to write out v on top and then 4 times v times v times v times v times v, and then cancel a v, you can see, okay, nothing left on top. Put a 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. If you want to write it in an expanded form, you definitely can. All right. Now, what rule are we going to use here? Multiplication? No. Division? No. Parentheses. There's no zero exponents, no negative exponents. So the only one we have to use is exponent to an exponent means multiply. Okay? Just be careful. The 3 has its own exponent of 1. It does not get the exponent of 2. It's not like linked to the v to where it doesn't get the exponent. It's going to be 3 to the third, v to the, when it's an exponent to an exponent, multiply. Okay? 3 to the third is 27, v to the sixth. That's it. All right, numbers multiply like numbers, and variables, you multiply the exponents. There you go. All right. Next one. These are pretty short. Hopefully, you can pause and do that. Okay. We got a lot of stuff going on with this one. It doesn't look like too much multiplication when you look across. And the way I'm identifying that is there's only one number on top, 1x, 1y. One number, 1x, 1y. So in terms of that, there's no multiplication needed. We'll divide at the end if we need to. No parentheses, that's good. So really, the exponents being negative and the zero exponents, that's the most important stuff we need to worry about. Okay? Take it one at a time. I would highly suggest when it comes to this with multiple rules, just do one thing at a time. Okay? So for example, I'm going to deal with the x to the 0 first. All right? I'm going to rewrite everything as it is. Nothing changes. except for x to the 0 is 1. See if we can focus in there. All right, y to the negative 2 is still in the same spot. The x is in the same spot on the bottom, and the y to the negative 4 is in the same spot, okay? Nothing has changed except this. Anything to the 0 power becomes the number 1. Notice nothing else has changed, okay? So next we deal with the negative exponents. Deal with one at a time. We need to make this positive. The rule says that we need to cross a fraction line to make it positive. So again, do one thing at a time. Let's move this and let's rewrite everything else. 4 stays. 1 stays. Okay? 4 on the bottom stays. X stays. Y to the negative 4th stays. And now we have y squared. Notice it became positive. Notice everything else on the bottom stayed. The new thing is positive. It crossed the fraction. Okay? We have to do the same thing with this now. Y to the negative 4 needs to move up to the top. Okay? So let's rewrite. You got 4, and I'll keep the times 1. We can probably get rid of that at some point. 4 times 1 is just 4. But, and then y to the 4th. It moved. All right? But everything on the bottom then is still there. All right? Okay, so let's do a little bit of simplification here. 4 times 1 is just 4. And I'm going to get rid of the multiplication signs. It doesn't matter. We could keep them. We could not. I just think this looks a little bit better. Now we have to divide. 4 divided by 4 is 1. So it would just be on top. We'll just go y to the 4th. You could put the 1 here if you want. 4 divided by 4, there you go. And we got x, y squared. We still have one more thing to do. I'm running out of room. Okay, so let me get some of this clutter out here. All right. So at this point here, we had dealt with the negative exponents and the 0 exponents. Now we're dealing with some multiplication, 4 times 1, some division. We still have division to work with. Y to the 4th, oops, that makes it look negative. Y to the 4th and y squared. 2 y's would cancel on top and bottom. So our final answer is y squared on top and just x on the bottom. That's the answer right there, because 2 y's would cancel on top and bottom. Or the rule, when you divide, you subtract the exponents. So 4 minus 2 is 2. There you go. All right. You don't really need to worry about this. Nothing on the test is going to be this complicated. So if you want to stop here, if you've watched the video to watch all of these, you want to stop here, you certainly can. Nothing's going to be this complicated. But if you want to watch, just to check your answer, if you did it, you certainly can. I would deal with parentheses first. I'm going to do this one a little bit faster without as much step showing. So deal with the exponent. It's going to be x to the 8th, y to the 6th. Okay? Multiply exponent to an exponent, multiply the exponents. All right? Everything in the parentheses gets that exponent. Okay? Let's see here. A couple of things. Let's go move the negative exponent. We'll move it to the bottom. All right? So that's going to be 2x squared still on top, y to the 4th, all over, x to the 8th, y to the 6th, x to the positive 1. We moved it to the bottom. Everything else stayed the same, okay? We dealt with parentheses, dealt with negative exponents. Now we do multiplication, which would just be combining these two. So we got 2x squared, y to the 4th, on the top still, x to the 9th, y to the 6th. 8 plus 1 is 9. All right. Finally, we do some canceling. All right, 2 is going to stay on top, so dividing, basically. 9 minus 2 is 7, x to the 7th on the bottom. There are more x's on the bottom than on the top. Same thing with the y's. There's more y's. There's 2 more. So 6 minus 4 is 2, but there's 2 on the bottom. So that's your answer, 2 on top, x to the 7th times y. All right? All right, guys, take care. More videos if you'd like to see them.